Breaking news as of a few hours ago, Penn State finally honing in on Iowa State's head coach Matt Campbell. So, after a few weeks of chaos and even uncertainty, I would say, with this Penn State head coaching search, it appears that, On3 reported it, Penn State appears to be working towards hiring Iowa State's head coach Matt Campbell as their next head coach. Campbell isn't really a flashy name. He's he's more of a grinder over at Iowa State. He's built a program of on really toughness, discipline, consistency, and all that with fewer resources at or than what he would have at Penn State. Multiple winning seasons over there, real growth, and that's kind of exactly what Penn State needs after firing a pretty much consistent 10-win head coach in James Franklin. It seems like you're pretty much getting James Franklin here if Penn State does make the hire, but with I I don't know if you would say a little more upside. I think you could say a little more upside. We don't know because Matt Campbell hasn't been at a bigger program like James Franklin has. So, like I said, he's been at some smaller programs. Even Iowa State's a smaller program. And so we don't really know how he will do with a major program in the Big Ten. I love the fit, though. I think it's a really good fit. Just days ago, Penn State was chasing all the big name candidates, it seemed like trying to pull away Kelani Sitake from BYU, Bob Chesney, waited out Kalen Deboer, seeing what was happening there, and even rumored for NFL guys like Brian Daboll, and I've heard Cliff Kingsbury floated around, and I've heard Tommy Rees recently floated around, but as you all know, Satake signed a new deal with BYU. The I believe it was the Crumble Cookies founder came in and put together a pretty big paycheck to help keep Satake there, and I'm sure there was more involved with that as well. Chesney took the job at UCLA. It seemed like he was kind of waiting on the Penn State job, but Penn State wanted to go out and make a big splash instead of hiring Chesney. I think Chesney would have been a great hire. I think there's a lot of upside there too. And the others like Kalen Deboer, you don't even know if he was going to get fired. Lincoln Riley, there were some talks about that, but it seemed like he didn't want to leave either. You know, it everything just kind of slowly drifted away, or other candidates would just go out and get extended for a much higher payday. So Pat Kraft was getting some guys paid. Um, so that left Penn State with not so many options. Everybody went out and hired their guys, so candidates were falling off the board super quick. And Penn State was kind of scrambling. The fan base was scrambling. Pat Kraft seems to be scrambling now. We still don't have a head coach. We're the last Power Four team without a head coach. So we'll see. I do think the program kind of overreached, or Pat Kraft kind of overreached in this head coaching search. I think he should have already had a guy. International Signing Day was yesterday or 2 days ago. We're still in the International Signing Day window, but Penn State signed two guys. That's not what you want for your 2026 recruiting class, especially when you have a lot of seniors on the team and also a lot of guys most likely hitting the portal heading over to Virginia Tech to follow James Franklin. Anyways, like I said, Campbell brings tough football discipline. He has a proven track record, and like I said, his resources are much more limited at Iowa State than they would be with Penn State. If Penn State hires him, it could mean stability again, in my opinion. Just like I said, a program built on fundamentals and not hype. A coach who knows how to win. He knows how to win hard-fought games, and that's kind of what we saw James Franklin didn't have. Those hard-fought games against Ohio State, those hard-fought games against Michigan. We even saw it against like Michigan State, Oregon in the whiteout earlier. Matt Campbell maybe comes out with a few of those. And even the Notre Dame game, Notre Dame last year, Final Four, maybe Matt Campbell comes out with that if we get that far with Matt Campbell. Who knows? Maybe Penn State does win a national championship last year with Matt Campbell. But make no mistake, this is a big jump for Matt Campbell and Penn State, I would say, because Penn State is a blue blood. It's a legacy program. You've kind of already shot yourself in the foot, and Pat Kraft kind of buried himself in a hole that's kind of hard to get out of by now. So you kind of need this next hire to hit. And I do think that out of the candidates left, Matt Campbell is probably the most proven and safest bet. So I do think that is why Pat Kraft is going heavily towards Campbell. You know, but for Campbell, the spotlight's going to be bigger, the pressure's going to be bigger, everything really is going to be bigger. You're playing at 107,000 person, or maybe even more after the renovations, packed out stadium, especially like the whiteouts and stuff. He'll need time. It's not going to be right off the bat, so fans will have to be patient, which might not go so good for Pat Kraft on his side. But I mean, yeah, if this happens, Penn State does move forward with Campbell, shows that they're done chasing the really big splash hires because there really isn't any more out there. They want someone real. They want someone who can come in, build, sustain, deliver, not chase the headlines because Matt Campbell's not going to go out there and chase the headlines. He's going to go out there and win football games. That's Matt Campbell. You know, could also mean you're forgiving the chaos of the last few weeks. Will the fan base? I don't know. I think that Pat Kraft, I think he's most likely out no matter what happens here because it's not how they expected this head coaching search to go. I don't know. We'll see. But as far as Matt Campbell, overall college record 166, winningest coach in Iowa State history. 2024, he led Iowa State to a 10-win season, which was the first in program history. He has drawn interest from many big level programs as of late. He's turned down NFL jobs that was offered, and he was being talked about for. I had the flu all week. I still have a lingering cough. But now, one of the big questions I do have here, if they do hire Matt Campbell, is can he come in and recruit at a school like Penn State? Because, like I say, he's never been at a bigger program. He's been at relatively smaller schools. And when you look at guys like that are getting jobs out of the G5, they can come into these big schools and know how to recruit off the bat because most of these guys work their way up through these bigger schools at like just different roles at those bigger schools, like a coordinator, and then they'll get a job in the G5. So they see their head coach at the just let me just use an example. Kenny Dillingham last year. I know he went straight to Arizona State. Coached under Dan Lanning, saw how he recruited, went straight over to Arizona State, started recruiting. Is that easy? So since Matt Campbell don't have experience at a bigger program under a bigger head coach in the past, will he know how to recruit? That is the big problem because he's going to have the resources. Can he actually go out there and do it? We don't know that. It's unproven. But I think that's a reason that you try and keep Terry Smith on the staff because he can go out and recruit. He knows Penn State better than anybody else, and he said that in his press conferences before. So I think you keep Terry on the staff and see where that goes. So Matt Campbell, he was a pretty highly ranked and highly touted coach in this coaching carousel that we just saw before everybody got hired away. Pretty surprised he's still sitting here today, to be honest. I do think that we'll probably know something today, so be on the lookout for that because I do think we'll at least know if he's not going to accept it or if he is going to accept it. We'll know. I'm pretty sure we'll know something about whether Matt Campbell's going to be coaching the Nittany Lions next year. I'm pretty sure we'll know today. So just keep an eye out for that and subscribe to this channel for more, really, all sports. I know I sound super sick right now. I've had the flu all week, like I said. I still have a cough, lingering cough. So there's probably like 100 cutouts in this video because I've been having to do that a lot. But anyways, stay tuned for the next one.